ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar my dear friends, this is video number 26 on Vivekachudamani of Adi Shankaracharya. This video's topic is no diversity in reality. This video starts with verse number 398. Sav atam anyo ropita ses mas vastu nirasat hai. Swamev param brahm puran madvay kriyam. This does not mean that one should not keep the body clean. Regular cleanliness is a must, but let not its beautification be your sole preoccupation. Do not ever equate yourself with this contemptible dross producer of foul matter. तरती शोकम आत्मविद आनंदम ब्राह्मण विद्वान ने विभेति क्रिस्तचन. One who has come to know the Atma crosses over all sorrows. One who has experienced the Brahma as bliss itself knows no fear. When the apparent existences superimposed on the self are removed, then what remains is the Supreme Brahma, the infinite non-dual, that which is beyond all activities, alone, all by itself. When all the delusory projections, the BMI, PFT and OET have been negated, what remains is the self. When these have been transcended, the realization is I am the Supreme Brahma. This realization is the awakening to the higher plane of consciousness, the Atma. When the ghost and the details of the ghost have been negated, what remains is the post in all its original splendor. Brahma is realized as one's own self. It is non-dual with no otherness in it. There is no activity ever possible in it because it is all-pervading. These ideas are very often repeated by Sankara so that the student may catch them and their total effect, which ends in the comprehension of the transcendental reality, the light of life. Stanza number 399. Samahitayam sati chitvarto प्रातमनि ब्रह्मणि निर्विकल्पे न दृश्यते कश्चिदयं विकल्प प्रज्वल मात्र प्रेषिष्यते यतः. When the functions of the mind, the thoughts have merged in the Paramatman, the Brahma, the Absolute, then this phenomenal world is not perceived, then all becomes mere talk. When the thought flow is quietened in the contemplation of Brahma, the pluralistic phenomenal world cannot be perceived in a little. The world of tribulation is in the mind. When the mind is transcended, it is not available at all. From the watchtower of the Supreme Reality, the varieties of imaginations are all mere talk. Parjapat matraha, a meaningless prattle of words. While dreaming, a man shouts in his dream fear, "Oh, oh, save me, please save." But those who are sitting in the room have no fear at all. They say, "Save you from what? You save yourself." Sometimes, when you are thus shouting in your dream, you wake up, you hear yourself crying out, then you stop. For you, the cry then is a mere meaningless sound. Similarly, the pluralistic phenomenal world will not be experienced in the plane of pure consciousness. All talk is the prattle of an ignorant man, ignorant of his true divine spiritual nature. All that was said till then, including Vedanta, becomes a mad twaddle to cure the madness of others. Stop the mental process and functions and see the divine essence as your own self. This is the incessant cry of Sankara. Now, Acharya Sankara in a few verses is advising and indicating to us the total non-existence, Atyanta Astvam of plurality. Stanza number 400. असत कल्पो विकल्पो अयम विषम के वस्तुनि निर्विकारे निराकरे निर्विशेषे भिदा कुतः. In the one reality, the conception of the universe is a mere fancy. How can there be any diversity in the changeless, the formless, the absolute? Anubhava, Yukti, Dristant, and Shruti are the four methods of teaching Vedanta. Through all the four methods, Acharya Sankara is indicating to us that duality does not exist at all. The endless varieties of fancied names and forms and their mutual cohorts are all non-existent. That one reality is without change, nirvikara, without form, nirakara, and absolute, nirvisesa. In such a divine entity, how can there be any diversity? Since there cannot be any plurality, this entire phenomenal world is non-existent, at best an illusion of the mind in turmoil. Stanza number 401. दृष्ट दर्शन दृश्यादि भाव शून्य वस्तुनि निर्विकारे निराकरे निर्विशेषे भिदा कुतः. सकल वेदांत तात्पर्य विषयम अनुभव युक्ति दृष्टांत श्रुति भी द्वैतस्य अत्यंत अस्त्वम उपदिष्टि आचार्य. Through direct experience, anubhava, logical reasoning, yukti, example, drishtanta, and scriptural statements, shruti, Acharya Sankara points here the utter falsity of duality, the essential conclusion of all Vedanta. In the one reality which is without the seer, the seeing and the seen, etc., which is the changeless, formless, absolute, how can there be any diversity? For the terms seer, drashta, seeing, drashna, and seen, drashya, the synonymous often used in Vedanta are seer, Parmata, seeing, Parmiti, seen, Parmeya, and the instrument of seeing, Parmana. There where there is no distinction between these in that which is the substratum of all these seeming distinctions in that changeless, formless, absolute reality, how can there be any plurality? Stanza 402. कल्पार्णव एवाद अत्यंत परिपूर्ण कवस्तुनि निर्विकारे निराकरे निर्विशेषे भिदा कुतः. In that one reality which is all pervading and motionless like the ocean after the dissolution of the universe, which is the changeless, formless, absolute, how can there be any diversity? In a deluge, when there is water everywhere, how can there be any distinctions? the waters of the Atlantic, the waters of the Pacific, the waters of the river and the tank, the waters of the well and tumbler. These differences cannot exist where there is only water everywhere, unlimited, unconditioned. In that supreme, all pervading reality, which is without change, without form, which is absolute, how can there be any diversity? In the state of sleep, though there is no perception of plurality, Bheda, Abhavam, yet there the cause for pluralistic perception, the spiritual non-apprehension, avidya exists. In the moments of full apprehension of reality, there is a total annihilation of avidya. This is brought out in the following verse. Stanza number 403. Tejasvi tamo yatan parlinam भ्रांति कारणम अद्वितीय परे तत्वे निर्विशेषे भिदा कुतः. How can there be any diversity in the supreme reality which is non-dual and absolute, where the very root of delusion dissolves like darkness into light? How can there be plurality in the infinite? How can there be differences in the changeless? How can there be distinctions in the formless? How can there be diversity in the absolute? They are all impossible dreams. In the absolute, all names and forms which constitute the world of plurality are absorbed, just as the dream objects are absorbed in the waking consciousness. It is impossible for the waker to continue to see the dream also. In the infinite consciousness, there is neither the perceiver, nor the feeler, nor the thinker. Therefore, there are no such distinctions as objects, emotions, and thoughts. The very ego is not there to perceive the plurality. Where the ego has ended, the perception of plurality must also end. It merges into the infinite experience which is present everywhere at all times. Once there is light, the darkness is completely lifted. Similarly, when ignorance has lifted, reality must rise in our experience. Avidya is removed with the apprehension of truth. How can there be any plurality at any time in that supreme non-dual absolute reality? Verse number 404. एकात्म के परे तत्वे भेद वार्ता कथम वसेत सुसुप्तौ सुख मात्रायाम भेदम कनावलोकितः. In the one, the supreme reality, how can there be any talk of diversity? Who can ever observe any diversity in the total bliss of deep sleep? That state is pure, which has no other thing in it but itself. In the state of supreme consciousness, there are no equipments of experience, and therefore there cannot be any experiencer of the objects. All these merge to be the one infinite consciousness. There the field etc. and the knower of the field jana become one. In the deep sleep there is only one experience, sheer bliss. That experience is one without a second. In deep sleep the mind and the intellect are temporarily not functioning. Therefore, no distinctions can be made, no difference is recognized. All is bliss. In it there is no otherness. How then can there be any plurality in the infinite reality, where the mind and intellect have been transcended once and for all? The world of OET is interpreted by the equipments of our BMI, where the BMI are not, there the OET can never be. Ne hvesti Vishwam Param Tattva Bodhat, stanza number 405. Ne hvesti Vishwam परतत्वं बोधात् सदा आत्मनि ब्रह्मणि निर्विकल्पे कालत्रये नाप्यहरि अक्षितो गुणे न हयुं भी बिंदु मृग तृष्णिकायाम. Even the mere realization of the supreme truth, the universe does not exist in the absolute Brahma, the the quintessence of existence. Never in the three periods of time is the snake in the rope, nor a drop of water in the mirage. The BMI, PFT, and OET all put together constitute the universe. Vishwam, once the supreme truth is gained, this world can never be. The confusing equipments of the BMI are not in the transcendental reality. The world of OET cannot be in the highest plane of consciousness. When one has awakened to that reality, avidya cannot be there. The serpent was never actually there in the rope in the past, nor is it there in the present, nor shall it ever be there in the future. The rope is ever a rope, never has it been a serpent at any time. If you see a serpent in a rope, it is only because of your ignorance of the rope. Never can there be even a tiny drop of water in the mirage. Similarly, in Brahma, there can never actually be a universe of names and forms. Vishwam. Stanza number 406. Maya matra idam द्वैत मद्वैतम परमार्थतः इति ब्रूते श्रुति साक्षात् सुसुप्ति अनुभूयते. For stanza 406. The scriptures directly declare that all duality is nothing but Maya, that reality alone is the absolute truth. Such also is the experience in deep sleep. The pluralistic phenomena that we recognize is only an illusion. Maya matram idam dvaitam. The ultimate reality is one without a second. Advaitam paramarthamaha. Brahma alone is. The perceived world of plurality is only a projection. This is the declaration of the Upanishads. It is also the direct experience of everybody. In deep sleep, you experience the absence of plurality. If the world is true, it should be available at all times. That which is available at all times is called truth. That which has a beginning and an end cannot be real. A delusory nothingness is the world of plurality. Atma Vichara, Contemplation, stanza 407 to 413. Stanza number 407. Ananya Ananya tu अधिष्ठान नादरोपश्य निरीक्षितम पंडित रज्जु सर्पादो विकल्पो भ्रांति जीवन है. The wise have observed that the superimposition is identical with its substratum, just as the rope and the snake. The difference exists only because of delusion. A projection upon a substratum has no existence apart from the substratum. The superimposed snake is not separate from the rope, the ghost and the post. The silver in the mother of pearl are examples. The silvery shine has no existence apart from the cell. It is not different at all. Ananya. The chain cannot exist apart from the gold. The pot has no existence independent of the mud. The world of phenomena too cannot exist apart from Brahma. You look at God all the time and ask, where is God? The wise man never sees any distinctions in the world, for it is but Brahma. Brahma Mayam Jagat. The serpent in the rope is only a product of delusion. Truly, this world is a great lunatic asylum without walls. The way out of the way out of it is explained in the following verse. In three verses 408, 409 and 410, the teacher is trying to express the inexpressible by communicating to us the ecstasy of his own lived experiences, the mad revelry of his bliss. Stanza number 408. चित्तमूलो विकल्पो अयम चित्त भावेन कश्चन एतश्चित्तं समाधेहि प्रत्यगरूपे प्रमाद prathamni. The apparent universe has its root in the mind and cannot exist once the mind is annihilated. Therefore, dissolve the mind by fixing it on the most subjective Supreme Self. At present, all of us are suffering because of the vagaries of the mind. We want to get out of this mental turmoil. The mind turned outwards and gushing out is the chitta. The manifestation of this world is from the chitta only. Whenever the mind is not running out, there is no pluralistic world. To get out of this madness, the mind that is constantly running out has to be quietened. Do not allow it to sprout out. If it does, the world is of course real. It will give you on a silver plate in a golden cup all its poisonous sorrows. If you want the pure bliss and beatitude of Brahma, you have to end this world. In order to do so, quieten the mind in the contemplation of the Supreme Self, which is your innermost core. Thus, turn inward. This is the only method by which you can get out of this mad world. Sit down and consciously withdraw your mind as though in sleep and experience that stage where there is no object, emotion, or thought. That conscious sleep is called samadhi. In sleep, though there is no perception of the outer world and hence no misapprehension, there is nevertheless a blinding non apprehension. When you consciously sleep, there is no non apprehension either, only a complete apprehension of reality. Stanza number 409. किमपि सततबोधं केवल आनंदरूपं निरूपं मति वेलं नित्यमुक्तं निरीहं निर्वधिगगनाभं निष्कल्पं निर्विकल्पं हृदय कलयति विद्वान् ब्रह्मपूर्णं समाधौ. Through samadhi, the wise man realizes the infinite Brahma in his heart as something inexplicably of the essence of eternal knowledge and complete bliss, which is unparalleled, which is beyond all limitations, which is ever free, which has no activity, and which is indivisible and absolute like the limitless sky. During Samadhi, the wise man realizes in his heart eternal knowledge, which is of the nature of pure bliss. We cannot explain it because it is indescribable. Shruti says there is nothing like it. Na tatra pratima asti. Anywhere in the range of our experiences today, therefore it is incomparable. Nirupamam. It transcends all limits. Ativelam. It is a state which is ever free, never has it ever been limited. It is a state where there are no activities, physical, mental, or intellectual. Such a state is called niriham. It is a state unconditioned by place, time, or other things. Kalataha, Desataha, Vastutaha, Antah, Sunyam. It is a limitless state, nirvad, nirvadhi, like space, a factor which is unconditioned by time, place, or objects can only be compared with space. Therefore, Sankara uses the simile like space. Gagannabham, that which has no parts, niskalam, niravayam. Not only has it no limbs, but it also has no thought disturbances. Nirvikalpam. In Samadhi, a wise man comes to experience this state of complete and full reality. Brahma Puranam, stanza number 410. Prakriti Vikirti Sunyam Bhavna Atitam Bhavam Samarsam Samanam Man Sambandham Dhuram Nigam Vachanam Siddham Nitya Maste Prasiddham Hriday Kalyati Vidwan Pram Puran Samadho. Through Samadhi, the wise man realizes the infinite Brahma in his heart as devoid of the concepts of cause and effect, as the reality beyond all fancy, as homogeneous and matchless, beyond all proofs established by the declarations of the scriptures, always ingrained in us as the ego. Having expressed what is inexpressible in the previous verse, the teacher feels that he has not fully and efficiently communicated his experiences to the student. So he continues molding it in yet another brilliant set of words. Matter, Prakriti, its various modifications. Vikirti, Prakriti Vikarti Sunyam is the state where there is neither matter, BMI, nor its various modifications, OET. So it is a state transcending all the equipments and their experiences. It is beyond all intellection, bhavna tita bhavam, meaning a state which lies beyond the comprehension of the intellect. The experience of infinitude in the past, its experience in the present, and its experience to come in the future is the same for all periods of time. Therefore, it is called samarpsam. Whether it is experienced by a Brahmin or a non-Brahmin, by a sinner or a saint, it is all times and under all conditions the same, nothing comparable to it. Samarpanam, it is without any contact with anything. It is a state which is without example, exemplar. It is beyond all proofs. A permeum. If there be a truth which is beyond the comprehension of the intellect, which cannot be understood by logic, which cannot be perceived by the body, which is beyond description. How can one come to understand it? Shankara says it is established by the declaration of the Vedas. The Upanishadic declarations are the only stars which will help the student on his voyage. Still, the student may doubt whether it is possible for an individual to strive on with a blind belief arising from his reverence to the Upanishads. Here the teacher confirms with the heroism and courage of his own conviction that this is the truth which has been experienced by all wise men. This is an experience that is lived constantly by people like us. Asmat Parasiddham, it is experienced by the wise in Samadhi. In the state of Samadhi, the ego merges into the infinite. The intellect dhehi of the meditator becomes equal sama, where thought currents completely dry up. Having explained this inexpressible state in these two verses, Shankara feels choked and dissatisfied, and therefore, out of his infinite love for the disciple, he tries to indicate in yet another verse that exactly is the state of knowledge in which the man of perfection lives when he is plunged in utter meditation. Stanza number 411. Ajar Ajaram mam ram sata bhav vastu savrupam स्तिमित सलिल राशि परख्या आख्या विहीनम समित गुण विकारम शाश्वतम शांतमेकम हृदय कलयति विद्वान ब्रह्म पूर्ण समाधो. Thought Samadhi, the wise man realizes the infinite Brahma in his heart as undecaying and immortal as the positive entity which debars all negations, which is like a calm ocean which has no name, in which there are neither merits nor demerits, which is eternal, tranquil, and one. This great truth is undecaying, aprakshaya sonyam, and immortal, nasa-rahitam. In that state where all thoughts have sat, astambhava, the student lives vitally the experience of reality, vastu. All words used in worldly parlance are of no use there. Hence, it is the nameless state. It has no properties and cannot be indicated by the name or word. This state, which is indescribable in terms of words, the teacher can indicate only by giving us an analogy. Each student will understand it only according to his capacity. If the student has the necessary mental tranquility and the intellectual purity to fly to the heights that Shankara is indicating, if he has the courage to take the plunge, it is impossible for such a student ever to fail to understand this great state. The example given is Satimita Salila Rasi Parkhayam. It is as though all the waves of the ocean have suddenly stopped at the magic wave of a wind, as though they have been stunned into freezing. This cannot be understood unless you are imaginative enough to visualize yourself on one of those solitary, un, uninhabited little islands in the Pacific where upon the horizon all you can see is the seething, dancing, rolling, jumping, frisking waves. The clamor of their enthusiasm is noisily pulsating all directions. When you have sufficiently imagined such a condition of dreadful awe and magnitude, imagine that all the waves have suddenly stopped. Likewise, when the meditating seeker has quietened his mind, intellect, and sense agitations, all the pulsations caused by his vasanas come to a quiescence, and in that inner quiet he comes to experience the consciousness wherein all expression of thought, Vichara, is quietened. Gunas qualify the vasanas. Vasanas manifesting at the mental level are called thoughts. That which is beyond thought is naturally permanent since it is not conditioned by time, as time itself is a concept of the intellect, since all that can be conceived by the intellect alone can be conditioned by time. That which transcends the intellect is unconditioned by time. It has to be permanent. Restlessness, asantanam, is because of the disturbances in our inner peace. The self transcends the mind, and so its condition is devoid of the turmoil of the mind. It is therefore indicated here as Santam, the one Ekam. This great truth, which is the state of pure infinite consciousness, is experienced by the wise man. When the second reading Astambhasa is taken, it all means when all illusory perceptions have ended. When it is read as Astambhava, it means there where all abhavas have ended. According to the Nyaya philosophy, two kinds of abhavas are possible. Abhava means non-existence. The existence of a pot is only when it actually exists, but before its creation the pot was not there. The non-existence of the pot before it manifested is known as prakabhava. When the pot is destroyed, thereafter again there is non-existence of the pot. This non-existence of the pot after it has been destroyed is called prabhava sambhava. In Brahma there is neither prabhava nor pradvam sambhava, meaning there was no time when the self was not, when the ego arose, nor will a time ever come when the self will not be even after the ego has set. The ego is only a play of illusion upon the reality which is the essential truth. Truth was, is, and shall ever be. Both readings are acceptable and both have their significance. In the three inimitable verses given above, having enumerated the exact experiences of a man in Samadhi, the author has given us the method of meditation. He has given a scheme where the mind is instructed as to what it should contemplate contemplate upon and how. Now the teacher continues. Stanza number 412. समाहितांतकरणे स्वरूपे विलोके आत्मनामखण्डं वैभवं विच्छिद्वं बन्धं भवगन्धगन्धितं यत्नेन पुस्त्वं सफलीकुरुष्व. With a controlled mind in samadhi, see in your own self the Atma of undying splendor. Cut off your bondages which have been strengthened by the impressions of your previous births and successfully strive to realize the fulfillment of a human birth. Having quietened the mind and the intellect, inner equipment, antahakarna, come to experience the endless glory of the self. In order to experience this, destroy all your contacts with the obnoxious odor of worldly contact, meaning withdraw yourself from all your identifications with the objects, the body, the mind, and the intellect, all of which are created as a result of the vasanas. So then, bhava gandha gandhitam means sansara vasana vashitam, that is, ajnana, Detach yourself completely from worldly life, stinking with the foul odor of change and sensuality. This cannot be done easily. A lot of effort has to be made. As the teacher says, Yatnena, by striving, constantly be at it until you are redeemed from all the attachments with the world around. Thus fulfill your manhood, your human birth, your goal of life. Fulfill the very program of evolution. This verse has a strong flavor of the thoughts expressed in the Bhagavad Gita. Not only must it be intellectually understood, but thereafter it must become your very own. You must get involved, nay, even committed to this way of life. The same insistence of the Gita is echoed in this verse without losing its emphasis. Stanza number 413. सर्वोपाधि विनिर्मुक्तम सच्चिदानंद मद्वयम भाव आत्मना आत्मस्थतम न भूय कल्पे से बने. Meditate upon that Atma which is yourself, which is beyond all limitations. Absolute is existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute and non dual. Never will you come under the sway of births and deaths. Liberating yourself from all the equipments, the BMI or the gross, subtle and causal bodies. Meditate upon the non-dual existence, knowledge, bliss, which is your own self. Meditation thus consists of two aspects. One, a total withdrawal from the equipments and their interpretations, and two, turning the entire quietened mind to the contemplation of the self, which is of the nature of pure bliss. As a result of such deep and serene contemplation in the hushed silence of the mind, you awake to the higher. Such an individual will never return to the realm of birth and death. No more will he be crushed by the wheel of change. In all the Upanishads, we find the insistence that having awakened to the infinite, there is no return, there is no change ever again possible. It is evident that this verse echoes the thoughts which were already there in the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. So at this stage I conclude this video. Next video number 27 will start with the topic give up perceptions, and it will start with stanza number 414. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar, my dear friends. Thank you.